How can food contribute to life change? It really can. In today's episode, we're going to talk about 3 things to think about when it comes to how food can help to change our lives. Welcome to Vida Punda, a place where we talk about life change, about how to be more intentional so that we can give and live more abundantly. Have you ever met someone who changed the way they ate and got healthier? I certainly have. We've seen people who were perhaps overweight, maybe even about to fight diabetes, and they changed the way they ate, they started exercising, they changed their diet completely, and they lost a lot of weight and just started looking healthier and feeling much better. So 3 things to think about when it comes to food and life change. And the first thing we want to think about when it comes to food and life change is, which foods am I consuming? What food am I eating that's actually helping my body? Now, to be able to do this, we first have to take some time to actually understand ourselves and our bodies better. We need to be reflective as we eat different things, stopping and thinking about, how is this affecting the way that I feel? Do I actually feel better now, or do I feel worse because I ate that? And just think seriously about that and notice the patterns. That can help us to understand our bodies better because everybody's different. And then we can start to make the changes about what's going to help us to feel better. Now, we know that our diet really needs to be well balanced. And this can be a bit tricky sometimes because we all have our favorite things. Maybe there's a particular vegetable that you really like and you don't like most of the other vegetables, right? We just want to make sure that we have enough diversity when it comes to the food that we're consuming. That it's well balanced, the different food groups, and that it's diverse, and that we're getting different kinds of nutrients from different kinds of food and not eating the exact same thing every single day or all the time. And the third thing is to maximize nutrition. So we want to make sure that if you're cooking vegetables, for example, you're not overcooking them or cooking them at too high temperature, because that decreases the amount of nutrients that are in those foods when we overcook them. And so then we don't really benefit as much from them as we could have, just because of the way we cook them. Or when it comes to bread, for example, choosing brown bread over white bread. Now, I know that white bread often tastes better, but it's a small thing we can do to actually feel better in the long run when we choose brown over white. So the first thing to think about when it comes to food and life change is, which foods are actually helping me? The second thing to think about is, which foods that I'm consuming, or things that I'm consuming, are actually harming me. And by foods, I also mean beverages. Now, we know that if we consume things that have a lot of sugar in them, in the long run, that's going to harm us. Or things that have a lot of fat in them, that can also harm us. Or things that have a lot of sodium. I knew a family once that lived out in a remote place, and they ate a lot of canned things. And the fact that there was so much sodium in those canned goods actually ended up harming their physical health over many, many years of doing that. So some people might be a bit extreme and just say, cut out all sugars, all fats, really drastically reduce the amount of salt that you're putting on things. I think there needs to be a balance there. We each need to decide what's right for us when it comes to that. The questions that we can ask ourselves are, how often should we partake of some of those things, and how much of them should we consume? So perhaps every once in a while, small quantities might not be that harmful over the long haul. But obviously, if we're consuming something on a regular basis in large quantities, it could end up being quite harmful to our health. So after we've thought about what is it that helps our bodies and what is it that might be harming our bodies, the third thing to think about when it comes to food and life change is, are my food purchases affecting other people? Now, this might seem like a bit of an odd question to ask ourselves, but the fact of the matter is that our choices do have consequences. And so if we're choosing, for example, to pay a little bit extra to buy that fair trade coffee, perhaps that's going to actually help a person who's growing that coffee in a developing country a lot more than if we just buy the cheapest coffee we can find on the shelf. Or unsustainable harvesting. There are many special, unique products that we can buy, but we don't really know the history of where those are coming from. Are they being harvested sustainably or not? And by us participating in that whole system, by purchasing some of these products that are being harvested unsustainably, we're actually creating more problems for future generations. We're contributing to those things perhaps going extinct or not being available anymore in the future. Sometimes we're choosing to buy things that come from a really long way away, so we're contributing to carbon emissions because they had to be trucked such long distances, when perhaps there was actually a locally produced choice that's just as good or even better. So as much as possible, let's try to support the small producers, the local producers, people who are producing food close to where we are located. In the long run, that's going to actually be more beneficial for the community. We'll get higher quality food a lot of times, and it's better for everybody. The World Health Organization reminds us that, quote, a healthy diet protects you against many chronic non-communicable diseases, such as heart disease, diabetes, and cancer. Eating a variety of foods and consuming less salt, sugars, and unsaturated and industrially produced trans fats, eating less of those things is essential for a healthy diet. So, in the coming days, and maybe this weekend, find some time to think about what foods are helping my body, what foods are harming my body, and how are my food purchase decisions affecting other people positively or negatively. When we eat the right things for our body, we're going to feel healthier, we're going to have more energy, we're going to get sick less often, and we'll just have a better life overall. And if you'd like a simple tool to help you think through these things about how food, being intentional with food, can help you to have a changed life, just contact us. Go to vidabunda.com. That's vidabunda.com. Click on contact and request the tool for intentional food. Looking forward to seeing you in the next episode.